I'm just waiting for a part to come in, so I thought it might be a good time to give an update on my international pickup frame swap project. The biggest change since my last update is I got the cab mounts all welded up and mounted to the frame. There's 4 places where the cab mounts onto, one over here, one over there, and then 2 in the back. I'm using cab mounts from Suzuki Tracker, I think, or something like that. Anyway, a Suzuki. They fit nice on this 3-inch channel, but what I had to do is I had to make a little indent in there to allow these cab mounts to fit nicely into there. And the way I did that is I just used a hole saw, made a hole in the middle, a bunch of little kerf cuts with a sawzall, and then with a punch bent this down, and then underneath I welded it up so it's all nice and solid. But this fits in there good, and this is the other half of the mount here. This goes up underneath and then bolts right onto the body. I think these will work a lot better than the Escalade mounts, which were huge, and the original cab mounts from the International weren't in the greatest shape, and they're very strange too. They're actually springs, and I thought that would be very noisy. So I think this might be a better solution here. What I did to get these cab mounts on there is I took this 3-inch channel, cut a 90-degree out of the corner, folded it up like that, re-welded it back together, made those indentations in there, and then I bolted this onto the bottom of the cab where the cab mounts are. And I did the same up front here. I made this whole section and bolted it underneath the cab, and then I set the cab on the frame and lined everything up the best I could so it looked good, and then welded this channel right to the frame and added some extra braces to it as well to hopefully make it stronger. As you can see, there's another place where the bed mounts. I just welded a piece of channel going back. Bed shifted over a little bit, so that will line up a little bit better later on. And that goes back to another cross member back here for the bed, which I did in a very similar sort of way. So anyway, shouldn't be a long video here, but stick around to the end and I'll show you the cab actually mounted on here and with the front clip and everything installed, so you can get an idea of what it's going to look like. Up front here I did a few little updates too. I got that harmonic balancer back on there. I changed out the front crank seal. And then underneath I've got, you can see it through here. Yeah, I changed out the front diff on this thing. This is 2002 Escalade. It was all-wheel drive, and I want to change it to an actual 4-wheel drive with the 2-speed transfer case. The Escalade only had a single-speed all-wheel drive. So I swapped this out. This came from a 2005 Yukon, I believe, and it's got some wiring here, and that allows you to shift between 2-wheel drive and 4-wheel drive. I made another video on how to do that in the pinout on here, so if you're interested in that, check that out, and it shows how to hook these up to give you 4-wheel drive. The front axle that came out super dirty. There's a front seal, or front sealless axle seal that was gone, and it was leaking oil like crazy, so that's nice. I don't have to fix that up. And then over here is the transfer case, the all-wheel drive transfer case that came out of here. And actually that's the part I'm waiting for, is the gasket to hook these 2 pieces back up together. I've got the new transfer case over there, so that gasket should be in tomorrow, and then I'll put this transfer case in here. It was pretty easy getting it out of there with the body off now, so I thought it was a good time to do it. All you do to get that out is take the drive shaft out first, 6 bolts, and then slide the whole thing back. The axle was a little bit more work getting it in and out of there. Really, you're supposed to take the tie rod off to give you enough room, but I found that if I disconnected the steering box, There's 3 bolts on the side of it here. I took those off. I could move the tie rod far enough forward to just give me enough room to get that that axle out of there and the new one back in. Over here at this transfer case, this was an electronic shift transfer case, but I'm making it into a manual shift one, and that's that wrench on there. This wrench allows you to shift between, I think this is low range here, neutral, and then high range. So anyway, I'll cut that wrench off, drill a hole in it, and make it part of the linkage there. The only thing I noticed when I pulled off the transfer case from the Escalade, input shaft on it was longer. I'll show you this one here. You can see the length of it there. And then over here with the Escalade, it's what, maybe an inch longer, something like that. Now it should work because the input shaft is right flush there, and I think that gives me enough bite with that it's at least a couple of inches of spline shaft that should fit together there. But if anyone knows why there's a difference between those two, let me know. And especially if there's going to be a problem with that. I'm assuming there won't be, because I think these parts are all interchangeable, but if there's a problem, let me know. So anyway, I'll get that transfer case back in and put the body back on, and then, as promised, I'll show you a view of that. Well, this is going to be pretty close to the final stance of the truck, and I'm liking it. Looks good. Everything seems to be lining up not too bad. Front bumper is a little bit low. I got to make that a little bit higher yet. It's just sitting there. Front wheels, as you can see, are sitting nice in the wheel opening, pretty much centered. Still got a tiny little gap between the bed and the cab, which is good. And back tire is also centered pretty good. I'm going to get rid of those Cadillac wheels and put something more appropriate on here, and go up a couple of tire sizes. These are 31s on there right now. I think I can probably do 33s anyway, and get those in there. And I might crank up the torsion bars a little bit too, to get the front sitting about level with the back. It's sitting a little bit higher in the back. There's a little bit of a rake to it, but I might level it out and make it more like a real 4x4. I got the transfer case put back in. That went in easily, and yeah, there was a lot of engagement between the input shaft and the transmission output shaft, so I'm not worried about that. Must just be a difference between those two transfer cases, where one has a little bit longer input shaft. Riding board is just sitting there temporarily. It's not straight. As you can see, I got seats in there. Those seats are out of a Ford Escape, the older body style, and I thought they looked okay in there. It's with the headrests off, they kind of got that low back look. I put little spacers underneath of them to get the height about right. Driver's seat feels pretty good. So now, with the seat in there, I can put the dash back in temporarily and start working on steering column, brakes, all that type of stuff. And also, too, I've got to build some cab mounts up front, or not cab mounts, front clip mounts. You can see it should work out not too bad. I'm really close to that cross member there, so I can just build off of that. And it's going to be tight, but I think I've got enough room for a rad in here with an electric fan. That's the rad I picked up, so it's going to go in there, and I think I can make that work. So anyway, I'm pretty excited with this. I think it'll all work out. Well, I think I'll end this episode here. Thanks again so much for tuning in and following along. Really appreciate it.